Hello, my fellow chatterers, book lovers, and anyone else who has popped in here because you were curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chatty. This is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about recommendations of middle grade books for Journeyathon 2. If you're not sure what Journeyathon 2 is, it is a readathon about middle grade books. You don't have to just read middle grade books, but you need to at least read one middle grade book. It's inspired by 4 middle grade books. We have a map and there's lots of different paths you can take, and each bit of the journey is a prompt. If you would like some more information, I have got the announcement video in the description box, so you can click on that and find out a bit more. But what I am going to be doing is telling you which books will fit which prompts. And it's basically an excuse for me to talk about lots of middle grade books that I love. And this has been so hard to put together because I haven't even got all my favourite books on here. I haven't even got all the books I love on here. There's no classic recommendations because I figured I've got so many books I want to share with you and tell you about. You kind of already know about the classics, so I'm going to spend my time telling you about books that you might not have heard of and just giving screen time to books that I feel should be promoted a little bit more. So I am going to be there's going to be 2 recommendation videos. This is the first, and this is following the water path and the magic path. So the water path is the longest path we take in Journeyathon, should you wish to stick to a set path, and the magic path is the shortest path. So I'm going to be going through those, stopping at all the different places, and we will talk through the books. So the water path is inspired by Sisters of the Lost Marsh by Lucy Strange, and this book fits quite a lot of the prompts. So with all the inspiration books, I'm going to be letting you know if they fit the prompts to encourage you to read them because they're amazing books, and you get 5 points if you read one of the inspiration books. So I'm just recommending them a lot. And the Magic Path book is The Insiders by Mark Oshiro. Yeah, this is the Magic Path book prompt. That's all I need to say. Great, wonderful. We can carry on. The 2 other books I will also be talking about because they will also fit the prompts as well. But The Insiders inspired the Magic Path, and Sisters of the Lost Marsh inspired the Water Path. So we're starting at Prologton. So the map is now out. Before I post this, I will add the map to the blank map to the Google Docs, so you can have a little copy. If you want to print it out, you can print it out. If you want to add it onto Canva and turn it into some sort of creation where you put books next to it or whatever, you can do. Go wild, enjoy it, put it in a journal, I don't know, have fun with it. I'll also post it on my community page as well, so you get to see the map. I do not edit my videos. Well, I do, but it takes a long time. And currently I've had a hiccup with editing. So I'm not really editing unless it's really, really, really short because I don't want to deal with that again. So this is one long continuous shot. I have the power of pause only, and that is all. We're just going to keep talking, keep going. I'm surrounded by books. I'm surrounded by post-it notes. I have written notes. It's going to go marvellously. And if not, we will just welcome the waffle and the chaos, but not so much waffle because I've got lots of books to talk about. So I don't have a tiny teacup because the setup has already taken me half an hour, and that's just this setup, bringing it all together for here. Planning all the books, working out which ones I wanted to talk about took so much longer, but here we are. I had fun. I hope you enjoy watching. Cheers everyone. Grab yourself a brew or an imaginary tiny teacup. Clink, 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 clink. This is not a shot. This is just a massive mug of, well, it's not that massive, a nice regular sized mug of tea, and it is acceptably warm, so I shall continue to drink that because drinking is good. Right, starting at Prologton. I would love to intersperse little pictures of them, but we do not have the time, people, so please look at the map. Prologton is where we start, and the prompt for Prologton, which we stay at Prologton. We don't move, we stay there, we follow this prompt, and then we're allowed to move on. So, to move on from Prologton, unless you're doing the magic path where you go straight to City of Party, which is completely valid, you need to read a book that has a map illustration. So, the only of the 4 inspiration books that has a map illustration, so here we are, is Wilder Than Midnight by Kerry Burnell. This is the only one with a map illustration. So here we go. We have got Wild Woods. We have got Far Away Woods. We have got I thought there was another type of wood. There isn't. We've got a river, spindlewood. There we go. We've got a river, we've got a castle, we've got all sorts going on in there. So Wilder Than Midnight is a fantasy. But I have other books to talk to you about, so do not worry, I have other maps to share with you. So the first one is one of my favourite books, and that is A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This book is about three sisters. There is a curse. That's all I'm going to tell you. The plot of this book is wonderful. The characters in here, these three sisters, it's just delightful. The sisterhood bond, the family feels, the bravery of our protagonist, it's just wonderful. And you have magical items. What's not to love? But the map, for the sake of the map, here we go. We have got Crowstone, which is the big island where the sisters live, and there is Poacher's Pocket. That is the pub that they live in. Around it, we have got slightly less savoury place names. We have got Repent with a big tower. We have got Lament, and we have got Torment. That might give you a bit of the vibe. So, Pinch of Magic, fantasy book with a map. I am trying to make sure that I have a book that's not a fantasy within each of these, but I mainly do enjoy fantasy, so there are going to be a lot of fantasy recommendations. If you would like other middle grade recommendations in other genres, I suggest going to other people. But here I have a mystery. So this is The Good Turn by Shana Jackson. This is the one Shana Jackson book, apart from this little World Book Day one here, Peak Peril, that I haven't read. I really love the High Rise Mystery and Mic Drop, which is what Peak Peril is connected to. But this is a new series of books. This is the first in a new series of books. However, I did read the 9-Night Mystery first and found it completely enjoyable and didn't feel I needed to read this one first, but I do want to read this one. This is The Good Turn, and it has a map. Ta-da! So here's a little map of their close, the Copsey Close, and the little roundabout there is called the Donut, which I think is quite cute. And then we've got different people's houses named, and it's just a very lovely detailed map. Who does the illustrations on here? Paul Kellum did the cover. I don't know who does the inside ones. I don't know if that's the same. Oh, Wesley Evans. There we go. It says done here by Wesley Evans. So wonderful map, Wesley. Thank you very much. So I don't know anything about this book, but I have really enjoyed Shana Jackson's other books. I find I particularly love High Red Mystery Mic Drop because I would just love the connection between the two sisters there. But in The Good Turn, this is a group of 3 friends, and in this one we are following Josie. The 9-Night Mystery follows. Oh, is Wesley Evans? So one of the characters is called Wesley, so I don't know if he drew the map or if it's an actual artist that just happens to share one of the characters' names. I don't know. But I read Wesley's book, The 9-Night Mystery, and found that really, really enjoyable. So if you like mysteries, I highly recommend Shana Jackson. And then finally, I'm doing 2 books per prompt, but I had to slip in a third because I just needed this book to be on here. And this is Inkbound. Meticulous Jones and the Skull Tattoo by Philippa Leatherly. This is a wonderful middle grade fantasy. We have a wonderful magical world, and your magic is, you all have different gifts. So you go to like a fortune teller who reveals what your sort of tattoo is going to be. So you find out your ink, and you get that tattooed on your hand, and it links to something to do with your personality or your capabilities. Some are more desirable than others. So people that are really proud of them kind of show them off, and people that are maybe not, just hide them. And the magic is linked to, you're able to control your magic by having a glove called a tether. And from that glove, it helps you harness your magic. But Meticulous Jones doesn't live in that world. She lives slightly outside of that world, but has visited it with her dad. And that's all I'm going to tell you because I don't want to spoil you. I don't want to spoil it for you. But it is such a brilliant, brilliant book. And it has a map, which is why it's at this prompt. So here we go. This is New London. It's surrounded by lightning bolts. And we have sort of more industrial things happening down here. So we've got places like Low Fate, the Blood Quarter, Sinner's Oak. And then up here, there's sort of a big cathedral called the Naked Cathedral, Ink Shimmer, the gold district, the diamond quarter. So I think we get an idea of class and status depending whether you live at the top or the bottom of this place. And we have Ink River right across the middle here, dividing the two parts of New London. There we go. After Prologton, you can choose which path you're going to take and where you're going to go next on the map. So as we're following the water path first, we take brain has just lost words. We take the water path, we wade through the marshlands to Fayre Sister Hill. So via the water path, this is the one where it is a Middlegrade Mad Chat crew recommendation. So because there would be 12 books I'm talking about in one video, I've split this in two. So Air and Earth, you have got a friend recommendation or family recommendation, but I will give you the other 6 books in the second video. So the books I'm going to be talking about in this one are from Tiffany and Lucia. So I also have a graphic as well. This will also be in the Google Docs for you to have a look at, and I have already posted it on my community post, so you can have a look at that, and it is in the Discord should you wish to chat with us. And if you do pick up any of these, please do get in contact with the people who recommended them, because they would love to know that you've picked them up. So Tiffany from Towering TBR, who can be found on YouTube at Towering TBR, and also Storygraph. She recommends Everything Sad is Untrue by Daniel Nyari. This is a memoir, so this is a non-fiction, but it's sort of been fictionalized. In a middle school classroom in Oklahoma, a boy calls through, whom everyone calls Daniel, tells a story, his story, but no one believes a word. But Corthru's stories are beautiful and terrifying, stretching back years and decades, from his family fleeing Iran at night with the secret police following behind them, to the sad cement refugee camps of Italy, further back to the fields near the river Aras with red flowers bursting everywhere, further still to the jasmine-scented city Ifan. In a hostile classroom, Daniel weaves a tale to save his life, and it is a true story. I think that one sounds really, really intriguing. I would love to pick that one up. I can't get hold of that one at the moment unless I send off for it, so that's a bit gutting, but you might be able to get hold of it, so that might sound exciting for you. So I recommend, as does Tiffany, that you do. The other 2 books that Tiffany recommends, the next one is a fantasy book, and this is called The Troubled Girls of Dragme Academy by Anne Ursu. Anne Ursu had she released a book last year that was I can't remember what it's called. It's something about a ghost, and it was a slightly kind of like haunting one, but it was a take on the yellow wallpaper, and it sounded really, really interesting. But this is a fantasy book by her. No one notices Myra Lupu because everyone has eyes and plans for her brother Luca. Every young boy holds the potential to wield magic and be a sorcerer, protecting the country from a terrifying force, the Dread. Myra is not considered in anyone's plans. She can never do anything right. But her family receive a letter from a mysterious school for wayward young girls like Myra, Dragomir Academy. Strange, unfamiliar, and far away, Myra has a chance to make something of herself, fitting in a world which holds no place for them. But the girls there also discover things about the magic of men and the dread thing that threatens the precious balance on which their country is built. That sounds like an awesome fantasy. Again, really excited to read it. Can't get hold of it unless I send off for it. And finally, Tiffany recommends The Lost Year by Catherine Marsh. This is a historical fiction, and it looks at the Holodomor, which is a terrible famine that devastated the Soviet Ukraine in the 1930s. 13-year-old Matthew in 2020 is miserable. His dad is stuck overseas, and his mum moved his 100-year-old great-grandma to ride out the pandemic, adding to his stress and isolation. But Matthew finds a tattered black and white photo in his great-grandma's belongings, a clue to a hidden chapter of her past. Set in alternative timelines connecting the 1930s to the present day, from US to USSR, it sheds light on the Holodomor that killed millions of Ukrainians, and the Soviet government covered it up for decades. Again, that sounds awesome. So 3 brilliant recommendations there from Tiffany. Now, I do actually have 2 of the books that Lucia recommended. So Lucia can be found under the handle Lucia with 3 A's on the end. And you can find her in Discord with that, and you can also find her on Goodreads. So Lucia recommends for her fantasy book, The Strange Worlds Travel Agency by L.D. Lipinski. Lucia has me so excited for this book. I feel very much this is a book series I'm going to absolutely love. Everyone who I know who has read it has absolutely loved this book. I know I want to own my own copies and enjoy and read them. But I have so many books that I need to kind of get to before I'm at that point. But I borrowed this from the library. Welcome to the Strange Worlds Travel Agency, where every suitcase transports you to a different world. All you have to do is step inside. When 12-year-old Flick Hudson is invited to join the secret Strange World Society, she is thrilled, but quickly realises that something isn't right in the magical multiverse. Blizzards are hitting in the middle of summer, entire city streets are disappearing, and one suitcase leads her to a world that has been completely abandoned. Soon, Flick is breaking all sorts of society rules and pushing the very limits of magic to try and figure out what is going on. But will she be able to fix things before all the worlds, including her own, vanish completely? Pack your bags for a magical adventure. So yes, this is going to happen for me in my future, just not now. And then Lucia also recommends a contemporary book, which is, why is this all like that at the back? Sorry, I've got distracted because there's sticker marks on the back of this book. This is Ghost by Jason Reynolds. So last year I started this series, the Run Club series or the track series. I also lent them to my Mad March Hare, who adored them, and he really got into running. We read this around the time that was it the Olympics? Was the Olympics on last year? I can't remember. There was something happening it was the Olympics last year. Oh my goodness. We read it then. So I read it and then I gave it to him. He read it and loved it and asked for the whole series, which he got for Christmas. I have now finished the whole series and think they're brilliant. Anyway, Lucia recommends Ghost, and this is why. Running. That's all Ghost, real name Castle Cranshaw, has ever known. But Ghost has been running for the wrong reasons, until he meets Coach, who sees something in Ghost's crazy natural talent. If Ghost can stay on track, literally and figuratively, he could be the best sprinter in the city. Can Ghost harness his raw talent for speed, or will his past finally catch up with him? Such a great book. It's just, honestly, if you love contemporary books, if you love books about friendship groups, about children kind of like finding their right place, it's just fantastic. Highly recommend. Wonderful shout, Lucia. The final book Lucia recommends I have not got, but this is a science fiction, and it is the first book in a series, the William Wentham series. It is William Wentham and the Luridum Thief by Bobby Pears. 12-year-old William Wentham is a puzzle-solving genius in a quiet Norwegian town. They used to live in England, but 8 years ago they suddenly left and moved country and changed their last name. No one will tell William why, or why he has to hide his puzzle-solving skills. But a special exhibition comes to the local museum, The Impossible Puzzle. Experts say it is unsolvable, but William is sure he can crack the code. But William finds himself whisked off to a strange school where kids and robots... Sorry, I've written round the side of the paper. That's why I'm doing this weird stuff. Where kids and robots... a strange school with both kids and robots. There's a secret involving his grandfather, and there's no one here he can easily trust. Again, sounds so intriguing. It sounds slightly tense and threatening. There's such good recommendations where they have smashed it. Well done. Well done. Mad Chat crew. Fabulous stuff. Okay, so we're going to leave Fayre Sister Hill now, and we're going to move on through our wading wander in the marsh, following the waterpath to Wild Rose Wood. And because we have chosen the waterpath to get to Wild Rose Wood, what we have to do is read a book with a word that makes you think of the wilderness in the title. So this could be anything to do with nature or isolation. So, going back to the inspiration books, we have 3 that I think give a sense of the wilderness in the titles. Wilder Than Midnight. Bit wild, bit naturey, bit out there. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. That just makes me think of just being in the middle of nowhere, asking for help, big stuff's going on, kind of feeling like you're alone. And obviously the water book, Sisters of the Lost Marsh. Lost, isolated, marsh, kind of wild and spooky. But I have some other books to recommend to you as well. So these ones I have are, I have a graphic novel memoir, When Scars Are Scattered, by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. This is a memoir of Omar Mohammed. And if you've been following my channel, you know I have reread this again this year, and that lovely Jack and Katja, Jack from Spread Book Joy and Katja from Page Turners with Katja, have been doing, they use this as their March and April read for Reading Around the Globe. So I will put a link in to their live show should you want to see about this one. So the reason I think this one really fits for the wilderness title is the scattered. So when stars are scattered and it's just kind of being flung or sprinkled everywhere and not being connected or a part of something. And this book is all about life in a refugee camp. It is all about these people who are in limbo, that don't know what's going to happen to them, that have just kind of got to keep going on with their lives, but they don't have the freedom, they don't have enough food. It's such a wonderfully written and drawn and plotted book, and just hearing Omar's story and seeing how it all came into being it's just a wonderful thing to look at. It's a really important story. And then a slightly less heavy hitting, I have one of the Goth Girl books by Chris Riddell. This is the 3rd book, Goth Girl and the Wuthering Fright. So wuthering, I did look up, and it means like a howling wind, or a place where there's always a howling wind roaring, and that definitely makes me think of the wilderness. So this is the 3rd in the Goth Girl series. I have got the rest of them here. It is a really adorable series by Chris Riddell. It's illustrated. It's got all of his wonderful illustrations in it. Let me see if I can find one for you. And there we go. You've got a little plan of the room there. There's this detailed illustrations in here. And you've got all these like whimsical characters that he draws so beautifully. I love this series. It's also a slightly younger read. I think younger readers, because it's so illustrated, and the story I think is more, I don't have the words tonight, I'm sorry. It is aimed more at the 5 to 8 year old kind of age range, but so enjoyable if you love whimsy. It has a gothic vibe to it. It takes certain bits from gothic literature and kind of plays with those well-known characters a little bit. So it is a huge amount of fun. I own the first 3 plus the World Book Day one. I don't have the 4th one because I don't like the 4th one. You might enjoy it. If you want to know more about that, more than happy to chat about it, but I pretend that one doesn't exist. I just have the 3, which I love. So now we're going to move on to the next place. The next place we reach on the waterpath, going via marsh travel, is the Crossing of Ways. So the Crossing of Ways is all about choices. So for the having got there by waterpath, your prompt is series choice. So you get to flip a coin to either finish a series that you have currently reading or continue with one, or you can start a new series. So I'm going to talk about a couple of book series where this is the first book in them, should you wish to try it. So the first one I have is obviously a fantasy series, and it is the Green Wild series by Parry Thompson. So Green Wild, The World Behind the Door is the first one. This is all about a girl and her mum, and it starts off in Kew Gardens. Kew Gardens in London, and her mum has to go, she's a journalist, so she has to go somewhere, and she usually takes along Daisy with her, but this time Daisy has to stay behind. So mum wants her to be safe. She's put in a boarding school. Daisy's not happy. Her mum doesn't come to collect her. So Daisy sets off to go and find her mum. And through doing that, she stumbles across Green Wild, which is a place where they preserve green spots. There's magic all to do with gardening and protecting plants, and it is just so joyful and whimsical and wonderful in there. And then you have the bigger threat kind of happening, and Daisy realizes that her mum has some connection to the Green Wild place, and all is not well there. There is a threat, and they're trying to work out what is happening. So very exciting. There's kind of a sort of like eco-fantasy feel to this one as well. And the first book, Green Wild, does touch slightly on the idea of sort of asylum seekers and allowing people sanctuary in places. So yeah, I have to just show you all the beautiful covers. So my one was a proof copy that I was given by the Book Nook, which is amazing. The next book, the CiTea Beyond the Sea, this is my mum's copy, and just the artwork by is it Elisa Paganelli is absolutely stunning, and there are illustrations throughout as well. This one I have out the library. This is just been released, so this is the third Green Wild book, Green Wild, The Forest in the Sky. I think it is the final one, and we've got lots of kind of jungly action going on here with this one. So yeah, highly recommend that one should you want to try a fantasy series. The other series I recommend is one of my favourite. It is historical fiction, and it is set in the ancient world. So this is the Wolf Brother series by Michelle Paver. So the first book in this series, obviously being Wolf Brother. So this is the first book in the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. She gives you a map at the beginning. Her research just absolutely shows throughout about how these people lived, how they survived, what the communities were like. It also kind of draws on their spiritual belief system, the world spirit, and it plays as though in these books as though that is real. So there is a sort of a magical realism feel to it as well, but there is so much wonderful kind of ancient history within these. It's just incredible. And that is then followed by Spirit Walker and Soul Eater and Outcast and Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker's a very different book. And finally, Ghost Hunter. And I absolutely love these. I'm going to reread this series one day. So yeah, highly recommend these series. And I haven't told you what it's about, so let me do that now. Torak is alone, an outcast like his father. He has avoided all contact with the clans until now. His father lies dead, slaughtered by a demon in the form of a great bear, and somehow Torak must keep going. His only ally is an orphaned wolf cub. His only chance of survival is his skill as a hunter. But starvation isn't the only thing in the forest to fear. Through the whispering spruce trees comes an evil more terrible than any clan can imagine, let alone defeat. Doesn't really tell you any more than that. It also kind of touches on the different clans and things as well in here. But yeah, the main character is Torak, and it's just so good. It's just so good. And quickly, before I forget, with that one, which I very nearly did, talking about the first books in the series, we have two of our inspiration books which are part of series. Wilder Than Midnight is the first book in a duology. The second book is Softer Than Starlight. And Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry is the first book published in the Logan family saga. There was a novella previously published before this one, but you can read this as a standalone and then kind of read the rest of the Logan saga as prequels or what happens afterwards. I haven't read any beyond this one, but I am really anticipating reading everything because Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor is fantastic. Okay, now we're moving on. So we're now moving on to Blood Moon Marsh. And you can only access Blood Moon Marsh by the water path. So this is all about backlist books. So for this one, you have to read a book that is the first or second book that an author had published. So not the most recent. So if they've only had one book published, that doesn't count as a backlist book. That's the only book they've had published. If they've had two books published, you can read the first one. That is acceptable. So looking at our inspiration books for this one, there is only one that counts, and I've literally just spoken about it. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. This was the first book published. There was a novella previously done, so this absolutely counts. The rest don't, but I will let you know what the author's first books were. So Lucy Strange, who wrote Sisters of the Lost Marsh, her first book is called The Secret at Nightingale Wood. Mark Shiro, who wrote The Insiders, his first book is actually a YA, and it is called Anger is a Gift. And Kerry Burnell, who wrote Wilder Than Midnight, her first book is Harper and the Scarlet Umbrella, and that is illustrated by Laura Ellen Anderson, who wrote the Rainbow Grey and Amelia Fang series. I think that one is for sort of like, again, that 5 to 8 bracket, but it sounds very cute. Okay, so my recommendations now for backlist books. So you can tweak it a little bit with this one. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what I mean by that. So I have Hurricane Child by Case and Callender. So Case and Callender has written quite a lot of books. The first books that they wrote were an adult fantasy book and a YA contemporary book. So this is Case and Callender's third book, but it is their middle grade debut. So I think it's very close. It's very early publication, and it's their first middle grade book. Case and Callender has written King of the Dragonflies and something about a moon. King of the Dragonflies, I think, is one that is most well known. So Hurricane Child absolutely counts as a backlist book. So Caroline Murphy is a hurricane child. Being born during a hurricane is unlucky, and 12-year-old Caroline has had her share of bad luck lately. But when a new student arrives, Caroline believes her luck is turning around. Kalinda soon becomes Caroline's first friend, and together the two girls must brave their own feelings and love while they seek to discover why Caroline's mother has disappeared, or Caroline risks losing her forever. This is really hard-hitting. Have tissues for this one. There's some really lovely moments, but there's some also really there's some moments that are quite upsetting in here. There's a lot of kind of complicated grown-up stuff happening, and there's also some bullying that occurs in this book, but I loved Caroline and adopted her. The next book, again, it's where you can tweak this a little bit. So the book I have here is The Armourer's House by Rosemary Sutcliffe, which is a historical fiction. Now, Rosemary Sutcliffe wrote 2 books before this one, The Chronicles of Robin Hood, and what was the other one called? It's something to do with Elizabeth I, The Queen Elizabeth story. So that's about Elizabeth I. And I checked because this book, my confession, I have blatantly stolen this from my mum, Nata. She had the Rosemary Sutcliffe books as part of her book collection. She encouraged me to read them. This is one of the ones that I loved. I took it with me to uni as a comfort book, and I haven't given it back to her. And I feel I now have squatters' rights on this book. She wants to borrow it. She knows where it is. But this has always been one of my favourites. So I had a point with that one and I don't know where I've gone with it. Oh, so my mum has lots of the books. I have never come across the Chronicles of Robin Hood or the Queen Elizabeth story. I have looked them up. You cannot get them unless you are trolling through things like eBay and book things, and some of these are going for like £20 for very old copies of these books. So I think they're very hard to get hold of. So I feel you can make an exception for certain. This is the third book she wrote. This is published in 1951. Her most famous book is Eagle of the Ninth, which was published in 1954. I think that is the only one of her books that is still in current print in bookshops where they don't have to like send off to like print on demand or anything like that. I will tell you now about the Armourer's House. If only she'd been a boy, Tamsin would never have been sent away to Uncle Gideon's, the armourer's house, when her grandmother died. She could have stayed by the wild sea that she loved with her Uncle Martin, the ship merchant. But instead, she is bound for busy, bustling Tudor London and the armourer's house, far from the coast and far from her beloved ships. Homesick and lonely in the loud family of cousins, it isn't until she meets the strange old wise woman that Tamsin is finally promised her heart's desire. I'm not sure about that summary of it. I would definitely agree with up to homesick and lonely in the loud family of cousins, but I think it's her kind of just adapting to that life and kind of finding her place within that family. And she definitely does find her place within that family. It's a lovely kind of portrayal of family life. It's a lovely look at like what Tudor life was like for people of kind of like the merchant class. And it does have this love of kind of ships and exploring in it as well. Okay, the final example I have got for backlist books, and this is one where I wouldn't give you leeway on. So the first two I kind of would give you leeway on, but these ones I wouldn't so much. And this is because the most recent series from this author is Jamie Littler, and he has written the Arkspire series. So there are 2 books published in this series, but we look at the backlist of Jamie Littler, we are looking at the Frostheart series. So all of these are Middlegrade. You can still get hold of them very easily. So because everything he's written is Middlegrade, and because you can access them, I will only accept the first 2 Frostheart books as a backlist book. So you have Frostheart, which is the first one, where obviously the trilogy begins, and then you have Frostheart, Escape from Aurora, which is the second one. So these are the only 2 that I would accept as backlist books for this prompt. Frostheart is one of my favourite series. It's just pure Middlegrade joy. It has one of my favourite things for a protagonist where they have got to overcome prejudice. There is a wonderful found family on Frostheart, which is this ship. You've got this wonderful kind of like connection, sort of like mentor awkward family connection between our protagonist Ash and some lovely friendships in here. It's all set in this icy world. I mean, if you're looking for another book with a map, this one definitely has it. She says, where is it? Where's the map? Bear with me. Can't find the map in the first book. Pretty sure it's there, but this is the map in the second book. And just Jamie Littler also illustrates all the books, and his drawings are incredible. Highly recommend. Far out in the coldest part of the monster-infested snow sea, Ash waits for his missing parents, with only his grumpy Yeti guardian for company. But when an accident reveals that Ash has amazing magical powers, he's whisked aboard the Frostheart, an explorer sleigh with a daring crew who need his help. Can they help Ash master his new powers and find his family? So the powers Ash has are not looked on as being a good thing by the community that we start the story with. But the Frostheart crew adopt him, and it's gorgeous. So yeah, highly recommend Frostheart by Jamie Littler. We've nearly reached the end of the water path. So just 2 more places to go. So Antique Trove is the penultimate destination. And this is the one where we have a bit of maths involved in the shop. And for this we have the power of 6. Because in Sisters of the Lost Marsh, there are 6 sisters. So with the power of 6, it's basically anything to kind of do with the number 6. So 6 things that are the same on the front cover, 6 words in the title, ending on page, ending in a 6, ending on a chapter, ending in a 6. I think that was everything I came up with, really. So Sisters of the Lost March is the only inspiration book where there are 6 things on the cover. Not on this copy, this is the UK copy, but on the US copy, all 6 sisters are featured on the front cover. However, Sisters of the Lost March also, where have I written it down? Over here. It ends on page 266. How convenient. And generally did not know that when I started making these up. I clocked that there could be stuff on the cover, but I hadn't worked this out. But also, very entertainingly, the Insiders ends on chapter 46. And Wilder Than Midnight ends on page 286. So you can use the inspiration books for this one if you want to. But other book recommendations I have Tamarind and the Star of Ishtar by Jasbinder Balan. I loved Asher and the Spirit Bird by Jasbinder Balan. I want to read more of her work and I just haven't done it yet. But this is the second book that she wrote, so if you're also looking for backlist books, this one would also count. Tamarind never knew her Indian mum, who died soon after she was born. So when she visits her ancestral home, a huge house in the Himalayas surrounded by wild gardens, she's full of questions. But instead of answers, there's only a forbidden silence. To unravel the mystery at the heart of who she is, Tamarind follows a trickle of clues to an overgrown hut, a star-shaped ring that glows, and a strange girl who calls herself Ishtar. I now really want to start reading this. But the reason I have this one for the Power of 6 is because it is Tamarind and the Star of Ishtar. 6 words in the title. And there are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flowers on the front cover. So there we go. Definitely works. So from what I know of Jasbinder Balan's, there's sort of a magical realism kind of adventure within her books. Some of her books. Others I think are historical. I also have another book to recommend for the Power of 6, and this is A Kind of Spark by Elle McNichol. And just please appreciate the gorgeous US hardcover for A Kind of Spark. I know people really love like the quirky UK cover, but there's just something about this one that it's purple, we've got the headphones on and the spark is going around the headphones, and I just love how the writing is kind of mixed in her hair. It's gorgeous. So Kind of Spark ends on page 176. I'm just going to double check that because I feel that is very short. No, it does. Yeah, it's 176. This book does not feel that short. There's so much in this book. It's a really kind of like, there was a lot of emotion when I read this book. A lot of emotion. It's one of my favourite books. Elle McNichol is fantastic. Also, Elle McNichol's debut book, so that would also count if you needed that. Right, stop the tangents. All I can think about are the witches. That's not the synopsis. There we go. Speak, even if it's quiet. Ever since Miss Murphy told us about the witch trials that happened centuries ago right here in Juniper, I can't stop thinking about them. Those people weren't magic. They were like me, different like me. I won't let the witches be begotten because there is so much more to their story, just like there is so much more to mine. So this book tells the story of I think it's Abby, but it could be Addie. And I feel terrible that I don't know her name. Yes, it's Addie, not Abby. I'm so sorry. Elle McNichol is neurodivergent, and Addie is autistic, and it really describes beautifully what it is like to be autistic. Obviously, everyone feels differently about things, but this is Addie's story, and she kind of explains how it feels for her, and it really looks at how she is treated, not only by her classmates but also by some of the teachers and some of the adults in her life, and her family is just amazing. And there's just so much heart and love in this book, but there's so many kind of hard-hitting things as well, and also this focus of the witch trials and this recognition that these people weren't witches, they were just people who were different. So highly recommend. So then the water path would leave you to the City of Party, and for that one it is just to read a middle grade book. That is all you need to do for that one. So moving on to the magic path, you can go to 2 places on the magic path from Prologton. And the first one is that you could go to is the Hideaway Snug. So the Hideaway Snug, for the magic one, we are looking at safe genres. So read a book from your favourite genre. We also have a backpack bonus as well, and that is Safe Fate. So you can choose 2 different books that you want to read from, or you can choose a book that you want to read and a book that might be more challenging. So obviously that depends on you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through 3 different examples of 3 different genres. So the first genre I'm going to talk about is mystery. And for this I have one of the Adventure on Train mystery books by M.G. Leonard and Sam Sedgman. And this is Kidnap on the California Comet. But you could always read the first one, which is Danger at Dead Man's Pass, or any other book in the Adventure on Train series. There are 6. I have read 5, really enjoy this series. I've just got 1 more to read, and the mysteries are so much fun. Watching our protagonist Hal work out things by using his drawing skills and his deduction skills, and also his wonderful Uncle Nat as well. And they just find every time they go on a train journey, there's a mystery to solve. So I'll just give you, this won't give anything away for the last book, so I'll just give you a little feel of this one. Desperate to go on another amazing train journey, Harrison Beck leaps at the chance to board the Californian Comet, an iconic route from Chicago to San Francisco. But when Marianne, the daughter of a billionaire train enthusiast, goes missing, Hal finds himself with another mystery to solve. So yeah, this is a really fun series, so highly recommend that one. I'm also just going to throw in, because I've got this wonderful bookmark, this is Murder for Two, a Tariq Twins mystery. So we have here Riri and we have Ani. So this is Nori and Imani, who are 2 twin sisters that live with separate parents. And then they kind of get together, and there is a mystery that they need to solve. I'm currently listening to this on audiobook, so I just thought I would just throw that in there as well, that I'm really enjoying. For a contemporary book, I have one of my favourites, which is See You in the Cosmos by Jack Cheng. This was one of the inspiration books for the original Journeyathon, and I absolutely love this one. There's just so much warmth and heart in here. I adore the protagonist. I adopted him, and I'll give you a little feel of the book. All 11-year-old Alex wants to do is launch his iPod into space. With a series of audio recordings, he will show other life forms out in the cosmos what life on his Earth is really like. But for a boy with a long-dead dad, a troubled mum, and a mostly not-around brother, Alex struggles with the big questions. Where do I come from? Who's out there? And above all, how can I be brave? Determined to find the answers, Alex sets off on a remarkable road trip that will turn his whole world upside down. It's an absolutely gorgeous book. I highly recommend. And another favourite book, so the final genre I'm going to mention in this video, I will talk about some more in the following one, is fantasy. And I am going to talk about one of my favourite fantasy books. This is Hamra and the Jungle of Memories by Hannah Alkaf. Courage is the strongest magic there is. On Hamra's 13th birthday, she receives nothing but endless nagging and yet another errand to run into the Langway jungle that looms behind her home. No one has remembered her special day. And so, stifled and angry, Hamra ignores something she shouldn't, the rules of the jungle. Always ask permission before you enter. Hamra walks boldly in. Never take what isn't yours. Hamra finds the most perfect jambu and picks it. Of course, rules exist for a reason, and soon an enormous were-tiger is stalking her dreams and demanding payment for her crimes. Hamra must embark on a deep quest into the jungle to set things right, and maybe become the hero of her own story along the way. This is fantastic. It is set in the pandemic, and it looks at what it's like to have a family member with dementia. and it also looks at how it's okay to accept help from friends. It's got a wonderful kind of folktale feel to it as well. So it's kind of like a Malaysian Red Riding Hood retelling, and it's just beautiful. There's lots of magical whimsy, there's lots of kind of danger and threats, and it's a really beautiful, lovely story and one of my favourites, hence me recommending it. The other place you can go to from Prologton on the Magic Path, so you can go to 2 places on the Magic Path because it's our shortest path, so you can portal travel to either the Hideaway Snug, which we've just been to, or you can go straight to Antique Trove. And for Antique Trove with the Magic Path, you don't do the power of 6, you do the power of 3. So going back to the inspiration books. Oh, should have mentioned inspiration books. I think I have already spoken about them. Sorry, my foot has gone completely dead. I've got pins and needles going through it and it has no feeling in it. So that's going to be interesting when I try and stand up a bit later on. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry is a historical classic. Sisters of the Lost Marsh is a sort of spooky mystery. The Insiders is magical realism contemporary. And Wilder Than Midnight is a fantasy fairy tale. But for the power of 3, all 4 of these books will fit for that because they all have 3 of something on the cover. So this copy of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry doesn't, but there is one of the Puffin books. There is a book where there are 3 children depicted on the front cover. It's a much kind of older version, so it still counts regardless of which one you have. The UK Sisters of the Lost Marsh has 3 sisters at the bottom here holding hands, looking a bit like paper dolls. The Insiders has our 3 main characters on the front, Hector being our main protagonist, and then these are 2 friends here, so 3 children on the front here. And we also have 3 girls on the front of Wilder Than Midnight. We have Rose, we have Aurelia, and we have Safi. But the other books I want to speak to you about are... So Power of 3, just like Power of 6, same kind of things apply. Here I have The Bridge Home, which is a 3-word title. This is by Padma Venkatrama. And this is a contemporary book set in India, and it is about what it's like for street children there. It is, again, it's quite hard hitting, but there's some really lovely warm moments. It's about found family, and it's just a beautiful story. We then have, let's try to pick them up. I have one of my favourite fantasy series, and that is Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun. I have lent out that first book. I don't have it with me, so I have no idea if Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun counts for the Power of 3. Sadly, the second book, Onyeka and the Rise of the Rebels, does not, but the third book, Onyeka and the Heroes of the Dawn, does. It ends on chapter 33, so there we go. And I will, just for the sake of that this is a fun thing, if one of the books in the series kind of hits that, you have got leeway. If you can't find anything else that you want to read that fits this, it will count. I really don't mind. There is no readathon police. It's all about having fun. And just going to sneak another one in here just because I saw it in the library and I'm excited about it. This is The Line They Drew Through Us by Hiba Noor Khan. I really want to read Safia's War by Hiba Noor Khan, and this is their latest book. Sorry, this is her latest book. 3 best friends are born on the same day under miraculous circumstances, but by their 12th birthday, Jahan, Ravi and Lakshmi's lives are about to change forever. The British announce Indian independence and draw lines of partition that tear apart the country and the friends. One of them flees, one of them disappears, and the other is left wondering, could another miracle bring them back together? So this is absolutely about the Power of 3. We've got those 3 children depicted on the front cover here, and this historical fiction just sounds amazing. I think it sounds so good. I'm really, really keen to read it. Hence me grabbing it from the library. We now move on to the backpack bonus for Antique Trove, and that is Notice Numbers. So this is anything that has numbers in the title, numbers on the cover, or chapters being just numbers. And 3 of the books, which one isn't it? That one. Okay. 3 of the inspiration books all have chapters that are just numbers. So Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, it's just numbers. Sisters of the Lost Marsh and The Insiders, their chapters are just numbers. There are no titles to them. So my example for a book that has a number in the title is The Book of 3 by Lloyd Alexander. I don't have a copy of this book. Nata does at her house. She has the whole series. This is the book that inspired the Disney Black Cauldron series. So there are 5 books in the series. I read it as a child. I can remember very, very little about it. I just remember I really enjoyed it. And the first book is called The Book of 3. I will put links in the description. You can find out more. And then the final book that I'm going to be talking about in this video is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. It will come as no surprise that I adore this series, if you are familiar with my channel. If you are not familiar with my channel, then you don't know because you're not familiar. This is a fantasy series by Jessica Townsend. There are 4 books out now because Silverborn has just been released, and Nevermore is the first. On this UK edition, you can see here bursting out is an alarm clock. And it's pointing at 5 minutes past 8. I don't know if that's relevant, but there's numbers on it. So this is a book with numbers on the cover. And even if you have a different cover, it will still count because there is one edition that has numbers on the cover. Nevermore is a wonderful whimsical world. Morrigan Crow lives in a fantastical world, a made-up world, not our world. But she ends up going to Nevermore. In her world, she, again, a lot of prejudice against her. One of my favourite tropes in middle grade fantasy, a child overcoming prejudice. She is labelled a cursed child because of when she was born, and she is blamed for all the bad luck that other people have as a wonderful scapegoat and get-out clause. And Morrigan is just delightful. She has to write these notes to the people that have been damaged because she did something, which is a lie. And you get that through the way she writes these notes. So she starts off writing what she wants to write and then crosses it out and writes what she's supposed to write. But you just get that kind of joy of her being able to say exactly what she thinks and how rubbish she thinks this all is. And she's just delightful. She's got a lot of spark. She's got a lot of character to her. But she's also a really kind person and she wants to help people. And there's a lot going on for her. There's also her upbringing and her life kind of, and how she feels about things kind of reflect in choices she makes and things she does as things go on. But also Nevermore is such a wonderful whimsy world. If you enjoy middle grade fantasy, you're going to have an amazing time with this. There is a sentient hotel that she ends up going to, the most wonderful mentor ever, gorgeous found family, best friend that has got your back for life. It's incredible. There's also a really good level of threat and danger, and you can just feel the planning that has gone into this series that Jessica Townsend has done and how well thought out it is and how all the pieces link together, and it just continues as we go on, and I love it. There we go. We've reached the end of the video. So from there, on the magic path, you would then end up at the City of Party from either Hideaway, Snug or from Antique Trove, and you could just read 3 books. There we go. That's the quick path. So City of Party, there are 2 backpack bonuses should you want to do them, should you have bought stuff from Encompass stores that allows you to have those backpack bonuses. One of those is to select 8 books and randomly pick one from those in whichever way you want to. And the other is to randomly pick prompts. So we have reached the end of our journey. Thank you so much. We're just under an hour of book recommendations, so I am going to sign off super quick. Thank you so much for watching. Please get chatty in the comments. Let me know any thoughts or any other recommendations you have for any of these prompts. I would love to hear them. What are your favourite books? You know I love a chat. And happy reading, everyone.